to the Sustainable Agricultural Research and Education Program, the Sare program, and the National Sustainable Agricultural Coalition, the NASC, for all of your support and work in ag research to ensure that all of our crops are sustainable. Now, Rodney and I understand that it is all about research when it comes to our crops, which also means in our position that it's all about funding. That's why we just sent a letter that was signed by 128 other members of Congress to the Appropriations Committee, advocating for continued robust increases to the USDA's agricultural research programs. It really is those types of research programs and the people who make them successful. They really are the key to ensuring that our country continues to be a leader in something that's important to our food security, and that's ag research. That research really will help feed millions of hungry people all around the world, and it will help us ensure that farmers are equipped not just to respond, but to mitigate the effects of the climate crisis. Now, for over 30 years, the SARE program has been USDA's only farmer-driven competitive research program. Since its start, SARE has been helping its grantees all across the country put the principles of sustainable agriculture into practice by investing over $325 million in over 7,600 projects. That's why I was proud to support a letter led by Representative Kahili requesting $60 million in the fiscal year 2022 appropriations bill for the SARE program. In my district on the Central Coast, SARE supported a critical grant for the Agricultural Land-Based Training Association, otherwise known as ALBA. It's an organization that provides educational, marketing, and farm business opportunities to aspiring, beginning, and socially disadvantaged young farmers. Now, SARE grant helped fund ALBA, and it also helped ALBA advance new production techniques among small-scale farmers, including real innovative work when it comes to those high tunnels that you see, which help supply ventilation for air movement and temperature control to help extend the growing season and, of course, raise productivity. All across California, SARE has helped advance irrigation management practices and wine grapes. Obviously, with the droughts that we're experiencing, it's very important for wine grapes, but for all our crops to understand precision irrigation, which SARE helps. SARE has also helped with crop rotation techniques to manage for fusarium wilt in our strawberries, something that's very important to us on the Central Coast. And SARE has improved access to healthy foods in low-income areas. Now, as a co-chair of the Ag Research Caucus, I will continue to advocate and definitely show my appreciation for programs like SARE, programs that focus on the success of not just one, but all farmers and the continued savoriness of all of their products. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congressman Rodney Davis. Proud to be here once again to be a champion for ag research alongside my good friend and fellow co-chair of the Ag Research Caucus, Jimmy Panetta. I'm really proud to support ag research at the federal level. Increasing investments in research that help us meet the evolving demands of securing our food supply has proven to be even more critical throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, ag research plays a major role in the conversation around climate and best practices. Proud to support common sense solutions that connect farmers with resources to voluntarily adopt new best practices to make them more successful.
Hello there.
Does a great job in helping farmers get the tools they need to respond to new and emerging challenges, adapt to changing landscapes, and help them increase yields while protecting our natural resources. Thank you all for the work you do and for including me in this important conversation on ag research.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vance Owens, and it's my opportunity to speak with you today regarding USDA NIFA's Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program, otherwise known as you've already seen, SARE. The Sare program was first funded in 1988. Over 30 years since then has funded over 7,600 grants on a variety of ag topics. As a national program leader on the staff of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, it's really my pleasant task to provide leadership for the Sare program, working with many excellent staff and volunteers across the country who are involved with STARS and with our outlying territories. One of the key unique things about SARE, as you'll hear today, is its strong connection with farmers and ranchers. SARE is the only USDA NIFA grant program that gives funding directly to farmers and ranchers to try new ideas on their farms. SARE also funds projects through universities, nonprofits, and with agency scientists who work to involve farmers and ranchers in their research and education efforts. To help train future scientists, some of our grants are provided directly to graduate students. When producers apply for a farmer rancher grant through the SARE program, most of the people reviewing those competitive proposals are other farmers and ranchers. In fact, all of our grant reviews, all of them include farmers and ranchers as part of the review committees. Moreover, our 4 regional administrative councils each include several farmers and ranchers on those policymaking groups. The extensive involvement of farmers and ranchers in both SARE's decision-making process and as participants in our research and education projects has led to very practical outcomes for improved farming and ranching practices. Some examples of this include better ways to use cover crops, how to manage insect and disease pests, grazing livestock more efficiently, and raising fruits and vegetables profitably, among others. SARE has also funded projects that have strong market development and educational efforts. Beyond these, some of SARE's broader outcomes have included improved water quality, better soil health, healthier crops and livestock, more diverse cropping system, increased carbon sequestration, fewer pest issues, and improved resiliency to weather variability. Overall, SARE strives to improve profitability, reduce environmental impacts, and support improved quality of life for producers, their families, and their communities. I want to emphasize that SARE works with farmers and ranchers of all types and sizes. While many of our projects have supported beginning farmers and small to mid-sized farmers, we also have worked with large commodity producers on their management approaches. Our work includes farmers wherever they are, whether rural or urban. We've made particular effort to support underserved farmers, including socially disadvantaged and limited resource farmers. Since the early days of the program, SARE has strived to connect with diverse audiences. It works closely with the 1890 colleges and universities, as well as the many 1862 institutions. More recently, we've made significant efforts to reach out to 1994 institutions, serving primarily Native American audiences. For example, this past year, the North Central SARE program provided small grants to the 1994 institutions in their regions to support work on food sovereignty. Another unique aspect of SARE is our professional development program that provides training each year to thousands of ag educators across the country through workshops, field days, field tours, and other professional development events. These educators are then better able to assist farmers and ranchers with the production and marketing challenges they face to be sustainable with their ag businesses. Lastly, I want to mention the Sare Outreach program. As part of our authorizing legislation, SARE was tasked with not only giving out grants, but also developing training materials that could help American producers be more sustainable. To that end, we've developed a large portfolio of books, bulletins, fact sheets, and videos that are very popular with producers and ag educators. One example would be our Managing Cover Crops Profitably book, which has been given out to over 100,000 copies of that has been given out. All of our publications are available online at no charge. We are greatly appreciative of the support of Congress with the SARE program for over 30 years now, and we're excited about the future opportunities. I think you'll enjoy hearing more about some of the impacts of SARE from the farmers and ranchers who will speak in the remainder of the program. And thank you for taking time to learn more about the SARE program. With that, I'm extremely pleased to introduce the panel of farmers and ranchers from across the country, each of whom has helped to make SARE so successful. We'd like to hold all questions until the end of the panel. You could put the questions in the chat box if you would like at any time, and then we'll get to those questions at the end of the panel. So first, and I'll introduce all the panelists up front, and then we'll just go through each one of them and then have the questions. So first, from the Western region, we have Kent Wasson from Montana. Kent is a farmer and rancher in northern Montana who raises wheats, peas, lentils, hay, and cattle with his son on their family farm, Foremost Eye. Kent has been a no-tiller for many years and used cover crops for 7 years to enhance soil health and create grazing opportunity for his herd of Black Angus cattle. He's also implemented wildlife management practices on his operation. He's been a long-standing member of the Western Sare Administrative Council and served recently as the chair of that council. Secondly, going to the center of the country, we'll have Keith Burns from Nebraska representing North Central Sare. Keith combines over 20 years of no-till farming with 10 years of teaching agriculture and computers. In addition to no-tilling 2,500 acres of irrigated and dryland corn, soybeans, rye, triticale, peas, sunflowers, and buckwheat in south central Nebraska, he also co-owns and operates Green Cover Seed, one of the major cover crop seed providers and educators in the United States. Keith was honored by the White House as the 2016 Champion of Change for Sustainable and Climate Smart Agriculture. Keith also developed the Smart Mix Calculator, one of the most widely used cover crop selection tools on the internet. Third, we'll go to the Northeast in Pennsylvania with Hannah Smith Brubaker. Hannah operates an organic produce and pastured poultry farm in Juniata County. The farm provides community-supported agricultural shares to 250 families a week and also touches another 1,500 plates a week through participation in a growers cooperative that markets to Washington, D.C. and the Baltimore area restaurants. Hannah has served as president of the Pennsylvania Farmers Union, president of the Keystone Development Center, and director with the Pennsylvania Association of Conservation Districts. She's currently the executive director for Pennsylvania Association for Sustainable Ag, having most recently served as Pennsylvania Ag Deputy Secretary for Markets and Economic Development. She also currently serves as the chair of the Northeast Sare Administrative Council. And then finally, we have John Littles from Georgia, representing the Southern Sare region. John is the executive director of McIntosh Sustainable Environment and Economic Development, McSeed, a community-based organization that works in the coastal region of Georgia and the Deep South, helping to connect intergenerational farmers in order to sustain farming knowledge and practices. McIntosh Seed also works to strengthen low-wealth families and improve neglected and low-wealth rural communities through asset-based economic development, education reform, empowerment, and environmental preservation. And with that, I just want to remind you, you can put your questions in the chat box if you have any, and then we'll go through the four panelists and at the end have answer questions. So first, Keith, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vance.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Kent. I'm sorry, Keith. I got that backwards. I had Kent lined up and I said Keith. My apologies.
Great. Hi, I'm Kent Wasson. We do farm and ranch. Me and my son's family, we farm and ranch in very northern central Montana. I don't like giving names and numbers and all that stuff, but I'm going to put in perspective. We crop about 11,500 acres into crops, and then we have about 18,000 acres of grass for our cattle, with about 400 mother cows, and they kind of asked me to go through some of the perspectives that a farmer and rancher gets and provides for Western Sare or all of Sare. And so I'm going to go through 2 or 3 things that I've done in my 12 years on the Western Sare board that have really affected me in the way I look at agriculture and the leadership in agriculture. One of them was standing in the organic fields in California and to watch how corporate agriculture deals with the farmers and ranchers and vice versa. That was very large, learning for me. The second one was that a group of us, Kim Crow and I, got to go to Tinia because we provide information and grants to the islands, and Tinia and Rhoda and Saipan, and to deal with the ranchers there, and I'm still in the process of helping them develop a marketing and kill process with their Secretary of Agriculture through Saipan. And I think that's important, to not bring so much capitalism, but just to bring a better, maybe income stabilization to those islands. And that's been huge for me. I really enjoy that. The other thing is the cover crops that we've implemented on our place. When they ask who wants to go to Omaha, Nebraska in the middle of winter and you look around and I'm the only guy with my hand up. I learned about cover crops 7 or 8 years ago, and Vance is right. We've implemented, and when we do research on our farm, we start with 100 or 200 acres. We're now about a 500-acre rotation of cover crops to enhance our organic matter in our farm. And the learning of how those cover crops transforms your soils and how that'll transition and make the sustainability longer in agriculture in our area. And I, our first seed group that we bought from, this a little story, but they wanted to have a tour, and it's a middle of harvest, and nobody shuts a key off on a combine. And 27 people showed up to our plot. There was about 350 acres there, probably the best plot we've ever had. And those 27 different people came to learn about the grazing, the soil, everything. And I was so impressed. And this was all part of Sare and the grant institution that we have. It's important to the innovation and the sustainability of Sare and all of agriculture. And to me, sustainability is those grandkids when they jump in and out of a sprayer or in and out of a seeding tractor or whatever. That we have to leave this in a better place than what we have it, and that's what we're doing. And I've worked 30 years with no-till to get my organic matter up from 60 years of plowing, from 0.6, 0.7 to 2. With cover crops, I can increase that to maybe 3. I've increased the quality in just a matter of a year or two of the crops that we grow. And so, that's one of the things that I want to bring. The other thing is that I think farmers and ranchers that bring, I've sat with rooftop farmers and I've sat with large commercial farmers. I sat with large organic farmers and small organic farmers. One of the things I want to make sure that bring to this board in real agriculture, when you get up in the morning, almost every one of us has to get up and pay the bank. We have to be large enough or innovative enough to step out of our box and do good things for the soil, good things for the climate, good things for the grandkids. But with that takes money. And sometimes we forget about that part. We forget about that there's a political pull and political, I'm talking chemicals, fertilizers, companies like that, machinery dealers that try to influence agriculture. That's one thing I've seen of Western Sare, because that's what I've dealt with, is they're unbiased in that. And they don't get pulled in from the chemical companies. And trust me, they're the first ones, because they're large. They're the first ones there. And that's one of the best things that I think we need to realize is that we can fund these things and the innovative and the sustainability of what we're doing. So I guess with that, I'm going to wrap up and let other people talk. And I just want you to know the experiences that I've learned with Western Sare and all of the areas that I've learned and the things that I try to speak all over the world on this agriculture and being leaders and stepping up and being leaders in agriculture has all come from that. And I've been on 30 infrastructure boards. This is by far the most important and the most learning for me. And I enjoy it. And I'm just here to say thank you for the opportunity you've given me and our farm and all of North Central Montana reaches out and talks to us about how we do things. And a lot of it comes down to Sare. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kent. Now, Keith, I'll turn the time over to you. Sorry about that initially.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, appreciate that, everybody. And Kent, that was a kind of a great segue for me with your experience with cover crops, because we have a similar type story, although it kind of went in a little bit different direction. So my brother and I farm here in South Central Nebraska, a little town called Bladen, Nebraska. Go ahead to the next slide. When we got started, we we've been farming here all of our lives. So we got started with the Sare grant, and Rob, I think there's a couple other things on this slide. There you go. So we applied for a Sare grant in 2008. We had heard a speaker from South America talk about cover crops, and especially these diverse cover crop cocktail mixes. And we were all excited about it, but our big concern was, are they going to use too much water? We're mostly in a dry land area here, so we're very concerned about how much moisture they were going to use. So we decided that we wanted to run some experiments, some tests. So we applied for a Sare Farmer and Rancher grant in 2008. We were funded. And what we did is we bought these watermark moisture sensors. You see them on the left there, and the data loggers, which is the blue box on the right. And we planted 18 different cover crop plots. And then in each one of these plots, we put these watermark sensors at 1 foot, 2 foot, and 3 foot depths. And then we took daily readings on them from the middle of August all the way through the middle of November. So in addition to the 18 different types of cover crops, we also had 3 or 4 different mixes where we put them together in different combinations and looked at that, as well as having the moisture sensors where there was just plain bare wheat stubble with nothing growing. So next slide. Excuse me. What we found is that all of these things use moisture, but the things that were planted by themselves, excuse me, like the common vetch here, it used the most moisture. So the further that graph goes down to the bottom, the more moisture it was using. And you can see how that, pardon me, at the different levels at 1 foot, 2 foot, and 3 foot, we're showing up there. So this is an example of what it would look like when we had just one species planted by itself. The next slide shows what it looked like when we had the species mixed. And again, this doesn't mean that this mixed cover crop didn't use any moisture. What it meant is it used it much more efficiently. And so that's what we had been hearing from other people. And that's what we saw with the research that we did that was funded by this Sare project, is that when we mix these cover crop species together, we got much greater moisture efficiency, much greater moisture infiltration from the rainfall events that we did get. And overall, it was just a far better system of using the water to grow a lot of product without having the extreme water use when we put them in mixes. And so as a result, next slide, as a result, we decided that we would start a cover crop seed company. We'd never done this before. We're just farmers here in Nebraska. But based on what we saw and based on the fact that the cattle did extraordinarily well on them, they really grazed them well. They were in such great condition coming off. And it was hard to find seed. Back in 2008, if you wanted to find, 20 different types of cover crop seed, it was just really hard to do that. So we thought, well, maybe there's an opportunity there. So we started in our little Morton building here, about a 50 by 50 building. In that first year in 2009, we just sold what was on that trailer. We sold enough seed to cover a couple thousand acres, and just kind of had the family workers. So I'm just going to kind of take you through a real quick progression of how our company Green Cover Seed has grown from that first humble beginnings in 2009 to where we are at today. So I'll just kind of jump a couple years here. In 2011, we determined that this thing was going to grow enough that we needed to build a bigger building. So we started putting up some buildings. In 2011, we covered about 62,000 acres with the seed that we sold. We had 3 employees. And like I said, we began building. We had a simple mixer, as you can see there. Another couple years, 2013, we made another big jump, 250,000 acres of coverage. We now had 14 employees. Started putting up a lot of grain bins and started putting up some automation because we knew that we had to get better at what we did. Which was specifically working with these diverse cover crop mixes. 2015, we had a new mixer, we had a new cleaning system, we were up to 20 employees, covering about 400,000 acres with the seed that we were pushing out the door. Fast forward a couple more years, 2017, about 650,000 acres, we're up to about 30 different employees. Which, by the way, that was the most challenging part of all this. Putting up buildings and grain bins, that's easy compared to managing people and finding the right people as well. It has just really been a challenge. But again, just more buildings and more capacity to just try to keep up with the demand. And then last year, we were at about 900,000 acres. about 45 employees. We now have 3 locations in addition to our location that we have here in Nebraska. We've got a location in Southeast Kansas. We've also got a location in Oklahoma, and we also have sales partners all across the country. We ship and sell seed to all 50 states, most of the Canadian provinces. We ship a lot of seed, and we ship it all over the place. So that just gives you, I think there's one more slide maybe that has just kind of a summary of this, Rob. So it gives you an indication of not necessarily just how fast green cover seed is growing, because it has, but really, we got in, the timing, was very blessed, because we got in right as, I would say, kind of the soil health movement was getting started and gaining momentum. The NRCS was doing a lot of advertising and promotion of soil health principles, cover crops being one of them, but being a very important one of them. And so we were able to kind of grow with it. Now, we think that we've grown more than the average because, people look to us as farmers. We're very, very strong on education. And that's why one of the reasons that I think we have had such a strong relationship with Sare. We've done a number of different speaking engagements with Sare. I served on the Farmer Rancher Review Panel for North Central Sare to help read other people's grants, which was a great experience as well. But we really stress education. We spend a lot of money putting out our own publications. We do a lot of webinars. I travel all across the country, much like Kent does, speaking and talking about cover crops and soil health, what it's doing on our farm and our operation, as well as what we see it doing for our customers. And so I think that's really one of the keys that helped us grow, is because we have helped educate people. And basically that just means sharing what we've learned, because the learning curve for us has been tremendous. We've been blessed to have a lot of good relationships with some of the industry leaders in soil health and regenerative agriculture. And so we've just been able to take that and hopefully transfer some of that information that we've learned over to our customers and future customers as well. So what does the future hold for green cover? I don't know. It's exciting. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of potential. There's always a lot of unknowns. Cover crops are harder to sell right now because of the high commodity prices, because everybody's trying to plant a cash crop. But there's still good, strong demand, because it means forages are more expensive, cattle prices are high. So we have a lot of hope. We have a lot of excitement about what the future holds. And I appreciate the relationship that we have with Sare, and we look forward to helping with the organization however and whenever we can. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Keith. We'll move to the Northeast with Hannah Smith Brubaker. Thank you, Hannah, and it's the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to advocate for Sare. I've really enjoyed my time with Sare. I farm in rural central Pennsylvania, and I'm going to begin with a few slides of my own farm, and then I'll cover farmer involvement in Sare. Village Acres is a 75-acre farm. It was started by my in-laws in 1982 when they returned from about 20 years serving as Mennonite service workers in Somalia and Kenya. And our children are actually 13th generation to farm within 15 miles of our farm. We have been certified organic, primarily for organic produce, for about 30 years. You can go to the next slide. So before there was a national organic program, in fact, our family is second, third, and fourth generation to formally farm under organic practices, though the many generations that came before also did not accept chemical inputs. We also we rotationally graze a small flock of Shetland sheep for their fiber and meat. And we also pasture about 1,200 laying hens. So that keeps us very busy. Our farm sits in the final oxbow of the Lost Creek before it pours into the Juniata River. Because the Lost Creek lies in a high priority watershed, we take seriously having healthy soils that control erosion so that we can be the last best effort made at clean water before it leaves our farm. Our farm mission is to connect people to their food, the earth, and each other. You can go ahead a couple slides, that's fine. Over the years, our farm has conducted innovative blackberry trellising trials as part of a Northeast Sare farmer grant. We've served as a research station for many Penn State graduate student grants, and we've hosted numerous Sare field days. I myself have participated as a grant reviewer, a technical advisor, an administrative council member, and now I serve as the administrative council's chair, and I'm in my final year. So now I'd like to speak specifically to how Northeast Sare is serving other farmers. And as you can see, Northeast Sare serves Washington, D.C. and 12 states in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic regions. All of our former projects, 883 have been farmer grants. And these projects conducted by farmers have received funding of over $6 million over the years. Last year alone, there were 88 Northeast Sare projects completed. And through these projects, 959 farmers participated in research, and over 20,000 farmers and 7,000 ag service providers learned about sustainable agriculture and these practices and concepts, with nearly 1,000 farmers reporting that they adopted a new practice or otherwise changed the way they farm as a result of what they learned through the Sare project. Northeast Sare funds farmers to conduct research to do many things. And the following slides are of actual projects. I'm not going to go into the details of the projects. Those are available on the Northeast Sare website, but I would like to just touch on the high-level focus areas that these grants are covering. Northeast Sare farmer grants improve farm profitability. They explore new crops on the land and at sea. They protect pollinators. Through them, farmers invent tools and equipment. They improve crop production. We enhance animal husbandry. We support local communities. We improve soil health, refine markets, reduce fossil fuel use, protect animal health and well-being, provide value-added products, reduce pesticide use, protect our natural resources, and engineer many solutions. So Northeast Sare projects engage farmers, as you've heard, as partners, collaborators, and on-farm research hosts. Northeast Sare relies on farmers to review proposals and to lead our program. And I would agree with the other speakers that really there's nothing that Sare does that doesn't involve farmers. This plays out not only on the proposal review process, which relies heavily on farmer expertise, but our time with farmers in the field truly keeps us up to date with trends and challenges. So this next photo was from one of our last summer meetings before COVID prevented us from gathering together in person. We're truly looking forward to being together again. If I were to say what is the one thing that my participation in Northeast Sare has taught me as a farmer, it's that the Sare program really does take the interests and needs of farmers to heart. Every time we gather together, I am reassured that our tax dollars are going toward a program that in concrete ways improves the lives of farmers. And so I'd like to end with our outcome statement. Agriculture in the Northeast will be diversified and profitable, providing healthful products to customers. Farmers and the people they work with will steward resources to ensure sustainability and resilience, and foster conditions where farmers and communities can thrive. And so I couldn't be any more proud to be part of something so effective and so important in the lives of farmers. And so you'll see here the Northeast Sare website address, and I hope that you'll visit it to get lots of helpful information about each of the studies that I overviewed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Wonderful presentation. We'll now go to the southern region and turn the time over to John Littles from Georgia and McSeed. Floor is yours, John.
Well, thank you, Vance. Again, my name is John Littles, Director of McIntosh Seed, Sustainable Environment and Economic Development. We received a Seer educational grant, and the title was Building a System of Sustainable Agriculture in Southeast Black Belt Region Through Education and Technical Assistance. Next slide, please. Today's presentation will provide an overview of the educational project. It will highlight impacts of the project and look through the lens of the project. McIntosh Seed was awarded a Seer grant, educational grant in 2018. The project engaged minority and small scale farmers in Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi to enhance the quality of life for farmers, ranchers by educating them in agricultural practices to grow their farms and their businesses. The project provided capacity building and support to help the farmers to assess and better understand the existing and potential agricultural opportunities and demands. Some of the project objectives were to provide outreach and technical assistance and training to minority and/or small-scale farmers, to assist farmers and ranchers in obtaining access to USDA programs in partnership with NRCS. And the third was to cultivate new wholesale markets channels for locally grown foods by providing peer-to-peer training on how to grow for market demand and how to grow crops together from farm to farm to meet that market demand. Some of the challenges identified through our research was new and beginning farmer lack resources and upfront capital to begin farming. New and beginning farmer lacks peer support. New and beginning farmer need ongoing support through EQIP processes. New and beginning farmers lack the financial and tax record needed to access programs, and some do not meet the credit requirements for financial assistance. Limited amount of resources allocated to local offices to support farmers was a challenge, and farmers need to increase their supply to meet growing market demands. With those challenges, we also identified through research potential opportunities. Minority farmers still own substantial amount of land. Many of these farmers have great capacity and potential on the supply side. A robust agriculture supply chain could serve markets across the South. If these farmers are organized, producers could capture more substantial regulated market opportunities, identified a growing demand for locally grown produce. That growing demand to reduce travel miles and fuel costs for wholesale distributor as well as markets. The next few slides will give you a look at our education and training that we presented with these farmers through this project. So this slide shows a high tunnel. So we did a demonstration on how to grow in a tunnel house. This particular farmer was awarded a a Ecoweed contract through NRCS. So we were able to bring some farmers to do some on-site demonstration. A tunnel house will allow for farmers to grow and extend their growing season. This particular class is a session around high fencing as well as drip irrigation. As you can see, we had many farmers looking at new practices in how to grow and learning different methods of growing on their farms. We were able to put together across the 3 states, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi, to do growing exchanges and best practices. So rotating on various farms throughout the 3 states so farmers can learn different practice and methods and best practices from each other. Through our outreach and education, we did a lot of sessions with Natural Resource Conservation Service in partnership with them. We were able to connect with outreach specialists from DC, Mr. Barry Hamilton, and we brought farmers from all 3 states together to learn and to listen, to ask questions, to get direct information on how NRCS can better serve the farmers and their networks. Through those presentations, through working with these farmers, we were able to form a network of farmers from the 3 states, again, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi. Some of the impact over the 2-year project, we provided 12 workshop and field days, 3 on-farm demonstration sites, 12 webinars, talks, and presentations, over 200 farmers and attendees, over 25 ag professional participation. We were able to leverage 2 grants in support of the project. And with that, we were able to develop 2 working collaboratives. Through our research, we found opportunities that farmers can increase on-farm acreage production, increase the number of new and beginning farmers putting underutilized land into active production. They can increase market demand percentages from 60 to 100%, connecting farms within the region to meet larger market demands, and increase the number of farms accessing Equip and other NRCS programs such as hoop houses, irrigation fencing, and others. The impact importance of Seer, some written here are Seer provides funding support needed to help build the capacity of underserved producers. Seer supports and helps to improve conservation and sustainable agricultural practices. Seer support helps in farmers to implement practices for the improvement of soil resources. Seer support helps to sustain farms and farmers. Seer's support helps to build resilient communities. I think that's important because if you look, we look back at the project, we brought together individual farmers, building them into a network of farmers. We did cross training across 3 multi-state, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. And the peer-to-peer was important in this project because it got folks to see different way of growing, different practices. How do we provide resources into their local communities, not only statewide, but also on a national level as well. Engaging them and educating them on the opportunities to see and receive these type of resources through NRCS was important. Connecting them to new methods of growing. I think the educational part of that and folks seeing and farmers seeing that they're not alone in some of their struggles, but also there's opportunity to be able to work together. So I think those are some of the identified Seer importance of this project, but also Seer as an institution as well too. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. And thanks all the panelists for those wonderful presentations. It's always amazed at the breadth and depth and diversity and impact and all things that Sare does. So we have actually now about 13 to 15 minutes for questions. If Kim, I'll let you monitor that. And if you have any questions that you don't want to write in the chat, please raise your hand or just come off mic. I'll try to keep my eye open for you. That's one thing challenging about the screen. Sometimes I don't see everything, but please ask your questions and we'll get to the panelists.
Vance, if I may, I'd like to ask John a question.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Hannah. Thank you.
John, what are the ways that Southern Sare is reaching underserved communities? I think that's something that we all struggle with a bit.
I think finding groups such as ours and of like that have reach and impact into the communities, whether that's through agriculture or through other ventures. I think knowing, some of the building relationships in those communities, finding those leaders in those communities. And then also Brennan Washington does a great job of connecting leaders and of this magnitude together and research and just telling us about each other in these southern states. So that has worked real well.
Thanks. We could probably spend quite a bit of time singing Brennan's praises. Good example for all of us. Yeah.
But I think also, being able to tell the story, being able to share success stories, challenges, that you face and how Seer can, help support that in many ways, whether through its financial or other resources and where there's human capital as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So Vance, there is a question in the chat. It says, is there more demand for Sare grants than funding available? What percentage of applications are funded?
So for that, I could actually send that information later if we could do that offline. And there's always a high demand for the types of projects that Sare funds. Other questions?
All right, here's another question. The Northeast tracks that data, and every year we have more fundable projects than we can award. So that's not a question, that's a statement from one of the Northeast staff.
Thank you, Katie. Other questions?
If I could jump in, Vance, this is Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Partial answer to that question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The percentage of proposed projects that are funded varies by region and by the type of project, whether it's a farmer rancher grant or a professional development program grant. But to see a complete synopsis of all of the recent grant funding success rates for all the different regions, you can look into our report from the field, which is available on our website. And that has the most recent results for all the different grant types in all the different regions.
Thanks, Rob. Other comments, questions?
I'd also just offer that I know for the Northeast Administrative Council, but I'm aware it's the same for the other regions as well. We spend a considerable amount of time thinking about who are the farmers we're not reaching and what are the strategies for reaching them. And so I always come away from our meetings really appreciating that we know there are many farmers out there who could benefit from the services of Sare. We've heard today how beneficial they've been, for farmers, but the fact that we're always looking for how to, who are the farmers we're not reaching. And, John mentioned networking with the organizations that are in our regions is so important, because we just know the value of the funding for farmers. And so I just love all the different strategies the regions implement for reaching farmers that just haven't heard about us yet. So I would argue that there's probably way more need than there's funding for, and just trying to improve on that continuously is a real priority for each of the regions.
So the answer is a question for John. Will Sare grants cover total cost of building that tunnel? Great idea to do it that way.
Well, from my knowledge, I don't work for NRCS, but I can share, there's a cost share. It could be anywhere from 75% starting. And if you are a minority, small, limited resource farmers, it can cover up to 90% of that tunnel house.
And there's a question from Keith that says, are there any new books or publications that are coming from Sare? Growing cover crops profitably is considered the Bible of cover crops. Any more great stuff like that coming? And I can answer that question. So we are close to publishing one called, we call it kind of a working title, Ecoweed, and it will be a big compendium of all different ways to control weeds, because we get information from most farmers saying weeds are their most difficult problem. So this will be methodologies to use different ways to control weeds in a sustainable manner. And Sean's mentioning who's our Sare Outreach person, and the next edition of Building Soils for Better Crops will be coming out soon. And it will also have a new section on urban agriculture.
I think there was another chat there. Kim, let me see.
Oh yeah, Hannah says, as John clarified, NRCS paid for the tunnel, not Sare. Sare covered the project conducted. Just so there's clarification there. Because Sare will not pay for buildings and structures. And there's a question, when is the Ecoweed publication expected to be released? I would say, hopefully, sometime this summer.
We have just a few minutes left. If there are any other questions that anybody would like to ask. While everybody's thinking, I sure would just like to extend again a sincere thanks to everybody who attended, and especially to our panelists who have done such wonderful presentations in showing the impact that Sare has had. So thank you very much.
Well, Vince, I would just add to the last comment about Sare not sponsoring or paying for a tunnel house, but in our case, in our project, they paid for the education that led to farmers getting their tunnel houses.
Yeah, very important. And maybe I will. And comments, we have just a couple of minutes left. Any other comments just from the panelists, just closing comments? I'll go around. Kent, just anything to wrap up for you?
No, I just want to thank everybody that came on, and I think it's a time in agriculture that we as leaders really need to step up and show that leadership, and Sare brings that to the plate every day. And it just is one of the greatest programs I've ever been involved with.
Thank you. Keith?
I would echo that. And I don't know, you know, the grants that are given out through the Farmer Rancher program are relatively modest, but I think the returns are relatively large. I can't think of any other project that has the kind of return on investment that this one has.
Thank you. Hannah?
Yeah, not sure what else I can add other than to just say again, as a farmer, I continue to be just so grateful for the focus that Sare has on improving the lives of farmers.
Thank you. And John?
Yeah, I just, like others, thank for the opportunity, but also to learn what's going on in other regions. And I think that is important as we, shift into this work, and, the economy and how food security plays a huge part in that. Learning from different regions is very important at this time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Nichelle, any last comments or?
Yes, I will just like to thank everyone for taking the time today, especially our speakers who took the time today from their operations to join us to talk about Sare. I also want to thank the co-chairs of the Ag Research Caucus for supporting Ag Research and for supporting Sare and other investments into Ag Research. Lastly, I also want to thank Sare, folks at NIFA and folks at all the regional offices for their lifelong dedication to sustainable agriculture and to the Sare program, and for supporting our nation's farmers. So thank you so much. For those on this Zoom line who would love to learn more information about Sare and how you can support Sare, please reach out to me. I have my email in the email invite. You can also reach out directly to Sare as well. If you are a Hill staffer on the line and you would love your boss to be part of the Ag Research Caucus, send me an email and I can connect you with the relevant staffers to get you more information. So again, thank you to all who attended today. We are at time, and thank you to our presenters today.
Thank you.
Everybody.
With that, we can sign off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.